Alrighty. Well, welcome everybody to Fuel Your Run and Your Mind, your race prep webinar. My name is Shannon Parks. I'm your on-site coach, registered dietitian, and here to talk about nutrition and hydration for race prep, whichever race you might be racing. And I am going to introduce my colleague who's also here. Take it away, Lorelai.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lorelai Keefe. I recognize some of the names, which makes me feel good. I am the on-site employee assistance consultant for the county, and Shannon and I have both been blessed with working with you guys through Cigna and now with UMR and Optum, and really do appreciate you guys making time for this today.
All right, let's kick it off with your first slide, Lorelai.
So at this point, you guys are racing soon, correct? If you haven't already raced. I know not everyone is doing the same race just based on schedules, but so what are your goals? Okay, so if you did any deep dives into the internet to look at this topic, you saw that you need to have SMART goals. You need to have strategic and measured and all those good things that SMART goals are about. But first off, are they realistic? So I don't know. I think that everybody has to run their own race. My father-in-law was a college professor and career college coach, and he always told me that. He told me that till the day he died, that everybody runs their own race. So please run your own race. Have your own goals, what you think is going to be a realistic goal for you. So, is there anyone that has a goal that they might not even finish the race, or they might not run the entire race? They might run, walk. Okay. I think that that's important. Um, Wonderful. April 25th. We've got a little bit of time for most of you guys. But if it's your race and it's your goals, they are specific to you. So if this is your very first time running, and when I did a 5K in my 50s, it was my very first time running since they made us run around the track in high school, right? In PE class. So I had very different goals than somebody who had maybe run 5 races or maybe had been a casual runner and this was their first race. So it's very important that you keep your goals specific to you and what it is that you're trying to achieve. You might be thinking that we're talking about goals of like your time or things like that have to do with the actual running of the race. But for me, the goals are more about what it is you're trying to achieve. What does this mean to you? Why did you even sign up for the Couch to 5K county running team? What is it that you wanted to prove to yourself? For me in my 50s, I wanted to prove that I could run a 5K. My son also was a runner at the time. Oh, by the way, you guys are all runners. I want you to embrace that. You are runners, okay? I couldn't always say that. I can't say that currently. I am not a runner currently, but at one point I was. And so, I wanted to run to support my son. I wanted to show him that I wasn't too old to do it. And I did not run the entire race. I walked quite a bit of it, and that's okay. I still achieved my goal. So, also in your goals, you need to factor in the environment. We can look on the weather report and see what the weather might be looking like that day, but it's Florida and it could easily change. We've had some really wonky weather lately, so factor that into your goals. If it's wet, you need to go slower. You need to be extra careful. If it is somehow a hilly course, which I have run a 5K in Florida on a somewhat hilly course, and it's different. You think only bridges in Florida have, or in Pinellas County, are the hills, but I guarantee you that's not exactly true. There are some other hills. So just factor into the environment. Um, Next, do you want a cheering squad? Or are you doing this more on your own? Okay. I thought I wanted a cheering squad, but I really didn't. I really wanted to just run it on my own, kind of stealthily, and then see how I did. Um, The cheering squad for me came after, where I could talk about it with other people that ran the race or with my son. So you decide how you want to do it. Do you want people there knowing that you're running the race, or do you want to just do it and then take care of yourself afterwards in your own way? It's different. Some people feed off the energy of their people, and some people want to just kind of like, let me do it and then I'll talk about it. And then I mentioned this earlier, like your goals should not be specifically, yes, getting used to the humidity. I'm from Florida, so I was used to that. But remember that if your goal is to finish the race, you can still modify that goal to meet you. Like there are reasons why people don't finish races. If it is not safe for you to finish the race, if you have gotten injured, if something comes up, you still did the 5K even if you didn't finish it. Now, if you were a professional runner, an Olympic runner, or something like that, of course, that wouldn't necessarily be true. But this is your race. So I want you to think about what it is that you want to do. And also visualizing success. Visualize that you are going to achieve your goal. If they're realistic, you are going to achieve your goal, and you can modify your goal if you need to. So that's what I have to say about goals, Shannon.
Okay, here's your next slide.
All right. I love that I have an assistant, because if anyone's ever been on any of my Zoom presentations, you know that technology is not my favorite thing. So Um, so visualizing your race. This to me is like where I really get excited about this. By the way, I'm excited for all of you runners. I'm excited for your big day. I'm excited for what comes next after the race, because you know it's not just about getting to the finish line. It's about what you're going to do with what you learned about yourself and what you pushed yourself to do and what you're going to challenge yourself to do next. But getting back to visualizing the race. Um, so mental preparedness, visualizing each stage of the race improves your focus and prepares you for peak performance. That was a lot of P's. Um, so most of what I know about limited experience, and then what I've read, is that you need to break the race into chunks. Okay. I use this same approach when someone comes to me in therapy and they have an issue that they want to work on. I say, well, we need to chunk it. We need to break it into bite-sized pieces, because we don't, you can't eat an elephant in one bite. So you need to break your race up into chunks so that it is more doable and feels like, you're not going to get sick in one bite, right? So, when you start your race, it's important that you not just give it all your guns, right? Because you've got 5K to finish. You can't. And sometimes people, the adrenaline will get them going and they start off really hot, or the pack starts off really hot. So maybe what you need to visualize is you need to visualize that, you're going to start, but you're not going to be at the front of the pack. That's not even your goal. You don't want to be up there. You're running your own race. So you're back a little bit. And prior to the race day, this goes into the visualizing too. It's hard to visualize the race if you haven't walked the course. So I want everybody to know that's so important, that you need to go and familiarize yourself with the terrain, with the actual course. Ask questions. A lot of times before a race starts, they'll give you the pre-race talk of like what the signs look like and whatnot. And they'll give you like the 1K mark, the 2K mark, the 3K mark, the 5K mark. They should give you all of that. So include that in your visualization, because those are going to be the markers that tell you what you're then phasing into. So walking the course, familiarizing yourself with the course. If you're like me, you're going to want to know, where am I going to park? How far is it? How long will it take me to get from where I park to get to the start of the race? Where are the bathrooms in case I need the bathrooms? You want to kind of get the lay of the land. So all of this kind of stuff, most people don't like surprises, right? So this is going to help you feel like, okay, I can see it in my mind. I know how I'm going to chunk it into pieces, and it's not so big. It's not so unknown. Um, kind of talked about the anticipating challenges piece already, that visualization helps athletes anticipate obstacles. And so you can come up with plan A, plan B, plan F, whatever. Um, and then the last part of this visualizing the race is that when you do this, okay, so you guys have probably heard about how you can come up with like a catchphrase or a mantra. So what you say with the visualization is that I visualize myself running the race, walking the race, finishing the race, and I know that I have the confidence to do it. So you are reinforcing what you have just visualized in practice. Um, I also want to remind you guys, you already know this, you have been practicing and training and doing all the things that have been recommended, I'm sure. But the 5K race is going to be difficult. There are going to be parts of it that you are going to be like, why am I doing this? This is not fun. This hurts. You might be a little bit afraid. You might be insecure. You might think I'm going to be the last one to finish, all that kind of stuff that goes into it. But knowing that it's going to cause discomfort, then circle back to it's my race. It's my race. I'm going to race this 5K how my body wants to. I'm going to pay attention to my body. I'm going to listen to what it's telling me, and I'm going to pace myself with my breathing with what feels right for me. Um, I have a mantra that I use for difficult things. It's usually difficult physical things, but I've done it for mental things as well. And it's going to age me immediately. But it's be the ball, be the ball. It's been my mantra for probably 40 years. Um, it means something to me. It helps me focus. It reminds me I've done hard things before. And lastly, be the ball helps me from taking myself too seriously. And that's really important. Um, yes. Other people are chiming in. Yeah, having your mantra that you can say to yourself, like be the ball, be the ball. When I'm feeling like I can't move my feet anymore, I'll say that to myself. A lot of you probably also have soundtracks that you use, if you're going to have the music for you while you're running, that helps too. Again, it's going to be songs that motivate you. It's going to be songs that mean something to you. Um, and I also want to say the Calm app. I hope that you guys are all aware of it. You get a free subscription through the county. It is on the A to Z guide if you want to look up Calm. It's free. But they have so many resources on the Calm app. Shannon and I are always saying, oh, did you see this? Did you know about that? There's an EMDR sound piece that goes on the Calm app that is best listened to with earbuds or headset because it's going to alternate ears, much like EMDR. Don't worry, it's not anything that's going to cause any harm. If you don't like it, you don't like it, that's fine. But it is incredibly relaxing. I've done it before surgery. I've recommended it for people before surgery. I've done it before a presentation, before a meeting. It helps me really focus and just like narrow my world down to what it is that I'm trying to accomplish here. So I really highly recommend that. And I told Shannon that I didn't have a lot of stuff to talk about, but somehow I did. So
I lost my mouse there for a second. Thank you so much, Lorelai. That was incredible. I cannot wait to see what everybody comes up with as far as questions for all that you've had to share today. We really appreciate you. Let's go ahead and scoot on over and start talking about some nutrition stuff for your upcoming race. So I wanted to first start by talking about an ideal runner's diet. So this is going to be a balance of protein, and that can be animal protein like meats and seafood, eggs and dairy, or it can be plant-based protein, things like tofu and tempeh and beans and lentils, soy products, etc. We also want to have a balance of dietary fat, preferably the heart healthy fats, right, from olives and olive oil, avocados, nuts, and seeds, and then carbohydrates. Now, typically for an ideal runner's diet and a generally healthy diet, we want those carbohydrates to come from complex carbohydrate sources. So things like brown rice, whole wheat pasta, beans, potatoes, things that have a lot of fiber in them attached to the carbohydrate. That is a general rule of thumb, and stay tuned because that recommendation changes as you get closer to your excuse me, your race. Now, I did want to put a note of importance here. I was actually speaking to one of my patients last week who's preparing to run a marathon, and this person ran, I think, like 22 miles as a part of their training. And they told me, hey, I burned like over 2,000 calories during that training run. And the point here is to realize that running burns a lot of calories. Whether you're running a 5K, a mile, or a marathon, or somewhere in between there, it really does burn a lot of calories as an endurance exercise. And it requires a lot of deliberate care in our nutrition timing relative to workouts or our runs in general. So let's start by talking about pre-run nutrition. So before the race. Pre-run nutrition starts days before the race. Now, if you are gearing up for a marathon, you're looking at anywhere between 3 and 7 days beforehand. For something like a mile race or a 5K, you could look at, 1 to 2, possibly 3 to 4 days before the race. So what changes right before the race? What we want to do is we want to increase our body's stores of carbohydrates. And the reason being is because carbohydrates are the number one fuel source for our brain and our muscles. And one of the jobs of our liver is to act like a little storage pouch for excess glucose or carbohydrates that can be quickly released into the bloodstream when we need them, aka when we're running. So 3 to 4 days out, if not more, if you're doing a longer distance run, you want to increase your carbohydrates at your meals to 50% of your meals, and then 25% of your plate being protein and 25% of your plate being vegetables. The key is to gradually increase your carb intake over those few days while also decreasing dietary fat and dietary fiber. Reason for that is that dietary fat and dietary fiber cause digestion of carbohydrates to slow down, and they can add bulk to your stool, which can be uncomfortable and cause what's called runner's trots, if any of you have ever experienced that, having to go to the bathroom in the middle of a run. So let's talk about race day. Day of the race is here, adrenaline is high, you're ready to go. Roughly an hour before your event, you want to try to eat simple carbohydrates that are low in fat and fiber, something like instant oatmeal, dried fruit, applesauce, crackers. For my marathon runner, I told them to eat a giant Publix muffin before they went out on that run, and they felt great because of all those carbs that were in their system. You want to try to eat about an hour before a 5K or a 1 mile race because that should provide you enough time to avoid that discomfort of feeling full or running on a full stomach. If you are doing this for a marathon, you want to try to go closer to 2, 3, or 4 hours before your race because you need the full time for your stomach to digest and to start to process that nutrition in the body and release the glucose. So now let's talk about what's happening during your run. So this is mostly for runs lasting over an hour. And that's not to say that some of you on this call might take longer than an hour on your 5K, and that's fine. But in general, runs lasting more than an hour. So your 10Ks, your half marathons, your marathons and onwards. Plan to consume 30 to 60 grams of carbohydrates per hour, upwards of 90 to 120 grams of carbohydrates per hour for more advanced runners. So if you've been running a while or been training for a while and you have a big long run coming, I encourage you to play around with fueling before your run. A great place to get these kinds of carbohydrates quickly is going to be like those energy gels, the energy bars, those little honey waffles that people love, the energy gummies. They are all specifically designed for running to make endurance runners and endurance athletes have the glucose or the carbohydrates and the electrolytes that they need to keep their body going. So definitely look into some of those. Look at the carb count, look at how many you would need to eat, etc., to reach your desired carb count. And then, if possible, aim to trial your fueling strategies on a similarly long training run to determine what fuel helps you feel best. So you may, try the big Publix muffin and go, oh my gosh, that was too heavy on my stomach. I am more someone who likes those goos or the gels. That's totally fine. You might be somebody that likes a carbohydrate powder mixed in water that you can drink about a half hour to an hour before your race. Again, that's fine. How you fuel is totally up to you. So let's talk about post-run. Within 20 to 30 minutes after your race, it's ideal to consume a recovery meal or a shake with both protein and carbohydrates in the right ratios. So research suggests that your body needs, and I would screenshot this, you'll get a copy of the deck, but if you have a race coming up, I would screenshot this. So the research shows us that your body needs about 0.5 to 0.7 grams of carbs and 0.14 to 0.23 grams of protein per pound of body weight after a run within a half hour. So, an example, 150-pound individual needs 75 to 100 grams of carbs and 21 to 35 grams of protein post race. Now, that doesn't all have to come from a shake. Maybe you've got a shake with, 50 grams of carbohydrates in it and 25 grams of protein, but we need more carbs. They typically have like the fresh fruit and things at the end of the races that you could always replete some of your carbohydrates with that. And then within a few hours, once your system has recovered, you've stopped sweating, your heart rate has come down, the runner's high has come down a little bit, and your sensation of hunger starts to come back, be sure to enjoy a nice post-race meal with protein and lots of carbohydrates for recovery. Because we are doing such a high level of performance activity, we need to be really mindful of giving our body those carbohydrates back. Now let's talk about hydration, one of my favorite topics. Adequate hydration is important all the time. However, specific hydration for runners starts 3 days before their race. So as you begin to carb load or eat more of those carbohydrate-rich foods, you also want to increase your hydration. Adding in an additional 12 ounces of your favorite sports drink, so your Gatorades, your Powerades, your Propels, whatever it is that you like, that can help increase not only the carb intake that you need ahead of your race, but it's also going to help you with your electrolyte stores and really getting in that deep hydration. You can also consider a sweat test to calculate your sweat rate, and this you would do on a similarly length training race ahead of your race. So essentially what you do is you weigh yourself before you run with no clothes, no shoes. You run your training race at your normal pace, but you avoid ingesting any fluid, which may be really hard to do because I know it's so hot and so humid outside, but you avoid ingesting any fluid, and then you weigh yourself right after, again with no clothes and no shoes on, and essentially any fluid, any difference in your weight is representative of your fluid loss. So if you notice there's a 1 pound difference between your pre-run and your post-run weight, that means you lost 16 ounces of fluid, and the rule of thumb is to drink about 80% of that back. So about 12 ounces we want to consume back, and then obviously continue to hydrate throughout the rest of your day, including electrolyte replacement. Speaking of electrolytes, let's talk about electrolytes. Be sure if you're running outside for more than 1 hour or you're in a hot or humid temperature like here in Florida, you are replacing your electrolytes during your run. If your run is less than an hour, be sure to replace electrolytes lost in your sweat after your race and throughout your day. So it's not as imperative during your run. But, if you've got a half marathon where you're running for 2+ hours or a marathon where you're running for 3, 4, 5 hours, you're going to need to replete those electrolytes throughout your race. So just keep that in mind. And then supplements. I think it's really important because people ask me all the time, what about my supplements? What's going to help with my endurance or my stamina? It's important to know that on your race day, you should be taking all of your medications and supplements as normally directed. So try not to, skip any meds or anything like that. If you are somebody that is a diabetic, pre-diabetic, you know that your blood sugar starts to get a little bit wonky when you run or do physical activity. Make sure you keep your glucose tabs on you or hard candy. The rule of thumb is 2 pieces of hard candy. Recheck your blood sugar after 15 minutes. If it hasn't elevated, 2 more pieces. So just keep that in mind, keep that on you. And I think they even have bracelets that designate that you're diabetic in case any adverse thing happens. Um, on your race day, this is not the time to try new things, unfortunately. So no pre-workouts, no random supplements, etc. There should be consideration for 2 groups of runners. So vegan runners, they may need vitamin B12, zinc, iron, and omega-3 fatty acids. But again, this should always be individualized based on the person. And then premenopausal runners. So I'm looking at those assigned female at birth that still get a menstrual bleed. You may need iron supplements, especially if you're following a plant-based diet and don't eat a lot of red meat. Again, totally individualized approach. And John had a good question in the chat. He said, is it better to drink water, hydration drinks, or powder/water mixes 24 to 48 hours prior to race day? I think that definitely plain water is best. I would add some electrolytes to it. So I wouldn't say all day, every day drink electrolytes, but we have this saying in the science community that so goes salt, there goes water. And so what that means essentially is when we have electrolytes on board, our body hydrates at a deeper level. So I would do like at least 1 serving of electrolytes throughout the days leading up to. Um, Yep. And John says, don't try new things on race day. That includes wearing anything new. Oh my gosh, do not wear your new shoes or your new workout clothes or anything. Like, go with what you know, what you've tried and tested throughout your training. And then I really appreciated this quote here. It says, running is the greatest metaphor for life and to not give up. So I wanted to obviously thank you all for showing up here and learning some things about running. We have recorded the presentation so that you will be able to watch it back. You'll get the slides with it, but I really wanted to leave some time and open it up for questions that you may have or anything that maybe we could do a little rah motivation for you. I don't know, whatever you need. We're here, we're here to help.
That was a lot of really good information, Shannon. I just want to remind everybody to have some fun when you're doing this because that should be part of your goals, I think. And speaking from experience, please remember to pick up your feet when you're running because I still have a scar on my left knee from that. Really didn't hurt that much, but that little tiny little dime-sized scar reminds me, pick up your feet. Like, don't forget the basics.
Mhm. I see some comments in the chat. So Michelle says, sounds complicated with details and metrics. It can certainly become complex, right? It can be as complex as you want it to be or as simplified as you want it to be. And obviously, this is a lot of information in a short amount of time, especially if you're new to running. So Michelle, I would encourage you, you can find me on the county teams. Shoot me a message. Let's chat offline and see how I might be able to simplify some things for you or help you streamline some things, I'm more than happy to do that, because we don't want you to feel like it's too much, right? And then John says, could you go back to the slide about what to eat and drink before race day? Absolutely. So pre-run nutrition is right here. And so again, 3 to 4 days out, we want to try to increase our carbohydrate intake to about 50% of our meals, and obviously do that slowly over that 3 to 4 days, so that as you get closer to your race, that's when your carbohydrate ratio is the highest. We don't have to go full send, 4 days from the race, but we want to be consciously increasing the carbs and be mindful too. Like one of the things that I tell people is like you might see a little bit of weight fluctuation as you get closer to your race. You're getting more carbs, you're gonna hold a little bit more water, but that should level out. And then yeah, roughly about an hour before your event, eat something that's simple carb. So a banana is a great idea, John. It also contains potassium, which can help with cramping, but cramping is also because of magnesium, which foods high in magnesium are things like avocados and pumpkin seeds. So you could always incorporate those leading up to a lot of your electrolyte solutions like the LMNT or drip drop, or what's the other main one I'm thinking of? Can't remember. Liquid IV. There we go. I seen the name of it in my mind. A lot of those contain potassium, magnesium, and sodium, and so they help to give you the electrolytes to prevent the cramping. But a banana would be a great pre-race meal as long as it's nice and yellow. On the greener side, they're more fibrous. They're going to take longer to break down, which is great for general nutrition. But when we're talking about needing quick fuel, we want a yellow banana, even if it has a little freckles on it. That'd be great. So, great question. What other questions can we answer for you?
Uh, I have a couple. I just thought it might be easier just to say it. And first of all, thank you very much for everyone for participating in this, and thank you uh, to our wonderful coaches here giving some outstanding advice, much of which I did not know, especially on the nutritional side. I asked a question a little bit earlier about your music playlist. I'm very pro listening to music during a race. Some people are not. But for those who do listen, do you recommend songs that have a certain number of beats per minute? Or should you just focus on music that just gives you that burst of energy and makes you happy and energized throughout your race?
Yeah, I'm not a formula person. I think that you should listen to what speaks to you, what motivates you, um, what maybe even has special meaning for you. And everybody's going to be different. I've even had people who tell me that they like the white noise of the headset. They don't even have music, but they have the headset in because they want to block out the sound of everything else. So again, it's what speaks to you. I see a question about how not to psych yourself out because you're in your head. Maybe map out what's in your head, Lena, and try to figure out, what it is that what are you tripping over? What are you stumbling over? And then when you visualize it, you visualize overcoming any obstacles that are in your head. And remember, keep your goals really simple. So if you want to just cross that finish line, I'm pretty sure you can do it. I'm pretty sure you can do it. Brooke is saying she listens to a podcast. Yeah, whatever works for you. Maybe listening to a podcast is getting you're not really focusing so much on the run, you're processing something else. So it's a different part of your brain. Um, and here are some Shannon questions.
Yeah, I see a question about from Nikki about, is instant oatmeal more digestible than regular oatmeal? Yes, it's going to be lower in fiber. So for your run day, I would go instant oatmeal, instant grits. Normally, when you come talk to me, you know I'm all about like the steel cut, the traditional oats because we want the fiber. But really, on race day and leading up to race day, we want the quick carbs, the stuff that's going to give us fast energy. So that's a really, really good question. And then I think maybe both of these are for you, Lorelai. How do I not psych myself out and not finish the race because I'm in my head?
Yeah, we sort of talked about that one about like the visualization should really help with that and seeing the race ahead of time and whatnot.
Mhm.
So okay, so yeah, I'm sure that Spotify comes up with race playlists, so you don't have to create everything on your own. I think that
Mhm.
you can go with what someone has done ahead of time, and you can always skip.
I would say John's question about what stretches or warm-ups do you recommend? I have a feeling, John, I have not been in your run club because jokingly I always say the only running I do is running to the grocery store. Um, but I imagine that you have done a lot of teaching them how to adequately warm up and how to cool down and whatnot. So I would emulate the things that John has taught you. Again, not a time to start new things, right? Like not a time to start a new warm up routine or a new cool down routine. Just like go with what you know your body likes. Maybe do some like slow walking around to just kind of get your body accustomed to movement, yeah, especially because I imagine the race will be early in the day. But yeah, I think that whatever you've already set up for them is a great lead in to how they should be race day morning.
And I like Natasha's comment about that running is a lot like cognitive behavioral therapy to me. It helps me redirect and adjust my negative thoughts. Again, you are challenging yourself not just to run, but to participate as a runner in an event. So you are doing things that maybe you didn't think you could do. We're not looking for perfection. And remember that we learn a lot about ourselves in the process. The whole race is the process. The finish line is the period, of like this event is over. But, you know, if you find yourself getting negative, you need to do your mantra again. You need to remember that this was going to be hard. You knew this was going to be difficult. You knew this was going to be uncomfortable. And you got this. You got this. You got this. So dig
Yeah.
deep.
I see John ask, how does yoga help runners? And then Becky says, I've noticed doing light yoga and stretching the day before a race has helped me run better and more comfortably. First of all, if you don't yet know me, I love yoga. I will champion for yoga for like everything. But really, it helps with flexibility, it helps with mobility, but I think beyond that, it can help you center yourself. Yoga is really good at allowing you to be in this moment, anchored in this moment, not worrying about what's to come, not worrying about what's already passed. And I think, especially right before a race, like getting centered, being present, having that degree of mindfulness is so important as you go into a big event like a race. And also the flexibility, the stretching part of it, right? Like I coach a lot of people who are on this call and I talk to them and they say like, "Oh, I'm so sore from the running." I'm like, "Are you stretching? Are you doing yoga?" "Oh, maybe not as much as I should," but it really does have its benefits. And I appreciate so much the kudos from my yogis in the group who have loved the class. I'm looking at other chats. Let's see. Some really good conversation here.
Never jump into a position, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. It looks like we have a couple minutes left, so I wanted to make sure we got any last questions answered for you. Of course, we will send out the recording on this. I believe the county is going to try to get it uploaded to the Wellness YouTube channel as well, so it'll live on forever. The Zoom link that we'll send out, I think it only lives for about 30 days, so we'll work on that to make sure it lives forever so you can visit it again ahead of your next race. But any other questions that we can answer for you? Nikki, I haven't run in 2 weeks due to some health issues. Let's see, where did it go? A lot going on in the chat. I think Nikki said, I haven't been able to run because she hasn't been feeling well. How do I get back into the groove for race day? I would just start slowly. See what you can run comfortably now, or see if you can walk a 5K comfortably now. Just kind of see where you're at and have realistic expectations, as Lorelai says. Um, yeah, take it easy on yourself. That's what I always say. For a person who does not eat red meat, what do we need to do now? So if you're not eating red meat, you do get a lot of iron from beans and lentils, but we could assess that individually in your diet if you wanted to. So you can reach out to me about that. Let's see. John says, any good nutrition tips if you know it's going to be hot and humid on race day? Yes, water, electrolytes, cooling towels. I even like those neck fans. I'm a huge fan of those neck fans. Anything that you can do to help keep yourself cool. Don't be in the sun if you don't need to be. So before the race, find some shade to keep yourself cool. Immediately after the race, go back into the shade. That way you know that you're keeping yourself as cool as possible. Okay. Yeah, cooling towels. Yep. Those are awesome. I love cooling towels. Any sunscreen recommendations for runners? I mean,
Don't,
whatever you feel comfortable with, definitely on your face, definitely on your
don't let it
arms.
get in your eyes.
Yeah, don't let it get in your eye. Like, get the sweat-proof kind. Yep, the sweat-proof kind for sure. Or wear a big hat. I've seen people running with the big hats that shade their face. So, really good conversation here. A lot of great questions, Lorelai. If you cramp up during your race, what should you do? I would say stop, breathe, get some water. It's not a good idea.
Listen to your body.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, perfect. I love it. This group has been so great. Thank you so much, you guys, for letting us come chat with you and, just talk about motivation and talk about nutrition and help you get hyped up for your run and your races that you have coming on. I know we've got one person on here that's getting prepared for a marathon in like 12 days, I think she's got. We've got one person on here that's preparing for a sprint triathlon, his first ever. I think that's coming up really, really soon as well. A bunch of people who have done their races already have 5Ks coming up. I'm super, super excited for you guys and cannot wait to hear all about your success.
Yes, you guys are runners and we're excited for you.
Better you than me, I say.
Me right now too. Thank you
We'll see
guys
you
for
again
joining in.
soon.
Thank you
Bye,
very much.
guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And you said this recording will be available later this week?
Yeah, I'll send it out today.
Perfect. Thank you. I'll I'll add it to our Couch to 5K group chat.
Awesome. You're welcome. Thanks, John.
No problem. Thank you very much. I learned a lot.
Alrighty, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.